is the first time I've ever been this on time with a stream in a long time. Started at, I guess, 6 o'clock on the dot, although now it's 6:01. All right, let's give it a few minutes. Let's wait to see who joins. Today is a rest day from the Push for Better challenge. No push-ups today. I will be back on tomorrow at 10 a.m. with 20 with I think it's 50 push-ups I have to do tomorrow, which is a lot better than the 170 I had to do a couple days ago. If I recall correctly, it's 50 push-ups tomorrow. We shall see. However, I'll be on at 10 a.m. Find me there. It'll be a lot of fun. Do the push-ups with me if you want, or anything else that you want to do with me. Hello, CEO. How's it going? However, it might have been a rest day in terms of the push-up challenge. It's definitely not a rest day in terms of the world. We got we got hearts. That's probably Smokey the Clown. In terms of what's happening in the whole world and what's happening Masonically, we have got, obviously, if you've been paying attention, you'll know Mexico, specifically Puerto Vallarta, is struggling quite a bit right now. There is a shelter in place warning. I understand there is significant cartel violence based on reports. I have visited Puerto Vallarta at least 3, maybe 4 times. I wrote about it. I posted about it. There are some incredible Freemasons within Puerto Vallarta, incredible Masonic lodges within Puerto Vallarta, as well as just incredible people and wonderful people. And so I did want to talk about my trips there. And what's happening there. I also wanted to mention happy birthday to President and Brother George Washington. Hello, Dylan Combrick. Hello, Smokey. Don't forget the 28th. Just send me a link, Smokey. So happy birthday, President and Brother George Washington. As you guys may know, George Washington won our poll for favorite Masonic president. Came down to him versus FDR. He won. So we've talked about him a little bit on the stream in the past. I've even created some poll questions regarding some quizzes regarding George Washington. So I'll talk about that. Today also is the International Freemason Day, which was established in 1995 by the Grand Orient of Brazil. Following a recommendation from North American Grand Masters, it deliberately coincides with the birthday of which United States Masonic president? George Washington. So there you go. I want to wish everybody a happy International Freemason Day. And I hope that you guys, if you are a Mason, you're enjoying it. If you're doing anything, I hope you're doing things with your lodge to celebrate it, posting about it. Yesterday was also International Mother Language Day, which I didn't get a chance to talk about because we had a whole bunch of crazy trolls on the stream. However, Freemasonry is absolutely practiced in a variety and multiple and many different mother language, dialects, and accents. I think it's worth discussing the universality of Freemasonry as reflected in the number of different languages in which it's practiced. If you speak a different mother language than English, please put down in the chat what it is, how Freemason translates in your language and what it means. Or even just if you speak multiple languages. So let's say you speak English and French. What is Freemason en français? That was a terrible accent. I apologize. And also, today is in Canada. Nice. Let me know how it is, Smokey. Today in Canada is International Day Against Human Trafficking. I will mention, because I did post about this, and I was involved with the Legal Aid Clinic and dealt a lot with human trafficking issues. If you have any concerns within Canada, you believe somebody may be, is being trafficked or may be being trafficked, the number to call is 1-833-900-1010. That's 1-833-900-1010. Or if you think there's an immediate danger to the person, call 911. It kind of fits into the cult discussion we had a few weeks ago. Um, what's going on? The weights. I don't play a ton of video games compared to what I used to do. However, I do play Dead Space. I enjoy all three Dead Space games, but particularly it's Dead Space 2, I think is my favorite. Although I like them all, and I have a real soft spot for um, Dead Space 3. I think it's kind of underappreciated. I heard about that as well, Harry. So there's a lot happening in the world. As much as possible, though, obviously my focus will be on the effect it has or connection it has to Freemasonry. No, I mean I'm not. I have a PS3. I don't have the modern system, so I don't think I could buy it even if I wanted to. But no, I'm happy playing the video games I've got. I don't really want to get new video games. Although I saw the trailer for Resident Evil, I guess it's 9 or Resident Evil 0. It was incredible. It looked like a really, really incredible trailer. So really, I played that game a whole bunch of times. I don't recall any Masonic symbolism. I mean, there's unitology, but that's a religion. It's not Masonic. I didn't see any square and compasses. I don't have a favorite battle rifle, Wolfman. He might be. I have no idea. So hail. I mean, I suppose, but an obelisk is not an exclusively Masonic symbol, right? But I suppose certainly Freemasons have, let's say, adopted obelisks. Not, I mean, even then, not. It's really just an example of stonemasonry more than in Freemasonry. Well, Jason Bender, I don't believe in demons, so I mean, I can denounce a demon all I want to. I don't believe in it. I've never seen any examples of demonic possession within Freemasonry. However, to be fair, if somebody told me they were possessed by a demon, I would assume that they required psychiatric assistance. I'm not one who believes in the supernatural, right? Oh, if you're Canadian in Puerto Vallarta or nearby, please register with Canadian Consular Services. This came from travel.gc.ca. Canadians in Mexico. Violence and roadblocks are occurring in Jalisco State. I think it's actually pronounced Jalisco State. Jalisco. That's when Freemason. That's where Puerto Vallarta is located. A shelter-in-place order is in effect in Puerto Vallarta. If you're in Jalisco State, keep a low profile and follow advice of local authorities. More info at travel.gc.ca/destinations/Mexico. Make sure that you're keeping your identification safe. You have copies of it. Shelter in place, and to everybody in Puerto Vallarta. There's actually a link that you can register. Sorry, let me just pull this up. Travel.gc.ca/traveling/registration. Registration of Canadians abroad. Registration of Canadians abroad is a free service that allows the Government of Canada to notify you in case of an emergency at your destination or a personal emergency at home. The service also enables you to receive important information before or during a natural disaster or civil unrest. We encourage you to register whether you are planning a vacation or living outside of Canada. I never knew about this. And I'm always talking about the value of travel and how to travel and what is Masonic travel. I never knew about this. Huh. I will have to make a note of this and start posting some stuff immediately. Yes, well, Smokey's American, so obviously Smokey's celebrating. I do wish Canada had won as well. I'm not a huge hockey fan or anything, but obviously I would have much preferred that Canada had won. So it's okay. Um, we'll get them. We'll get them in 4 years. I know. So what? Canada got silver, right? As a result, can't win them all. Can't win them all. We're going to give it a few more minutes, then we're going to start talking. First thing I'm going to talk about again is Puerto Vallarta, Freemasonry in Puerto Vallarta. and what to do if you are a Canadian visiting there. Or unfortunately, at this point, not so much visiting as perhaps trapped there, or at least stuck there. Sometimes YouTube will do that, CEO. Oh, Click is back. Well, all right. Click is back. Really, dude, I would say that's a pretty incorrect or false observation. I mean, some Masonic buildings have poor brickwork, some have great brickwork. It depends on a lot of factors, right? It depends on the age of the building and the finances of the lodge and the quality with which it was first built and a million other factors go into play. But in my experience, usually Masonic lodges and Masonic buildings, I should say, tend to have some pretty decent brickwork. I think the Windsor Masonic Temple has some absolutely beautiful brickwork. We actually just got a lot of it renewed or updated in, oh my gosh, in 2023 and 2024. We had all new kind of bricks were replaced, but then also I forget what it's called. The mortar between the bricks was replaced. They washed the bricks. They refinished a lot of them. They did a lot of work on the limestone facade. It was really, really cool. Well, then, so it counts as Canada, then, Dad. It counts as Canada. I have no idea what the U.S. would do in response. CEO of my time, I have no idea, and it's quite scary. I mean, what I guess I would say is I would hope that just nobody else finds themselves injured. I don't really know how many people have been injured thus far. I'm not even sure if anybody has been killed. I know that there's significant damage, significant amount of damage, a significant amount of arson and fires right now based on all the pictures I'm seeing. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that no one has been killed, but I guess we'll see what happens. Nurab. Sometimes I go to the gym. I'm doing push-ups right now every day. I'm doing push-ups right now every day. I'm doing 2,000 push-ups over the next 23 days. So yesterday I did 170 push-ups. Oh, Dad, that's divided loyalties for you. I'm not sure necessarily if you would be, either way, your team wins, put it that way. Though I'll cheer for Canada as well. Yeah, Smokey says even Smokey, who lives there, doesn't know what they're going to do. That might be my concern too. So it depends, Chuck, because I am missing my legs. So if I'm doing push-ups on a chair or on an elevated plane with my legs on the chair, I think I can do, if I recall correctly, about 50 in a row without stopping. If I'm doing them just on my hands, without, anything supporting my legs at all, I think I get stuck at probably 40 in a row, or maybe 30, 35. And if I'm doing them with my feet down on the ground, my hands and feet on the ground, probably like 100, maybe 150, but that's not really fair. That's not a fair way to do them. I have to do them either completely on my hands or with my feet on an elevated, you know, chair or bench or something. But let's say 50 altogether, assuming I have my feet on a plane, 35 if I'm just doing them completely by hand. Pull-ups? It's been so long since I've done pull-ups. Maybe, I feel like 15, but that's a guess because it's been forever and a day. Well, Jim Rat, you are American, so fair enough. I was hoping Canada would win, but that's okay. That's okay. Chuck Black. What about you? How many can you do in a row without stopping, out of curiosity? Again, that would be another concern, CEO of my time. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't think any of us know what's going to happen. I think it's fair to be concerned about it. It's fair to be worried about it. And I guess we'll see. But I suppose at the same time, the most important thing is to make sure, yes, thank you, Smokey, is to make sure that is just to make sure that we're doing whatever we can right now to keep ourselves safe and to keep those around us safe. Beyond that, I mean, if it's out of our control, it's out of our control, right? One of my points has always been, or one of the things I like to always say, right, is control the controllable. So control what you can control. Right. So you can't really control what America is going to do or what the cartels are going to do or even what the government of Mexico is going to do. What you can control, hopefully, is what you will do and how you will respond to it. So I just heard, for example, that the Costco in Puerto Vallarta has just been set on fire. And actually, I knew several, or I know not several, but I know people who live very close to that Costco. So I've tried to contact some of them to see how they're doing. So far, no response, which obviously I don't blame them for by any means. They have bigger things to worry about than responding to me, but still. Well, I mean, independence, I can't control America, nor can you, nor can anybody. Hopefully, the Constitution controls the actions of government, but at the end of the day, people will choose to act how they choose to act, right? The best you can hope to is if somebody bypasses or oversteps the Constitution, you have a court system and a co-equal branch of government in place to respond to it. Click, you're a strange fella. I think you might need to seek some help at some point. Well, independence, I'm not sure what you mean by that. One man could absolutely run for government and try to become the next president in, 3 years, and then follow the Constitution, right? I highly doubt, though, that you're in a position, Independence Resurrected, to, at this point, control what the U.S. government is going to do. You can advocate for what you believe. You can pursue what you believe. You can communicate what you believe. You can try to form political power within your community to push for what you believe. But that's not the same thing as saying that you will control what happens. Click, because the things you say are strange. Well, I don't know if it's that mind-blowing to be missing legs, but okay. I mean, it's funny. I think it's just people have a tendency to imagine people in a certain way, right? So you've been seeing me from basically here to here for about a year. You're not going to, you're just going to assume I'm able-bodied. So First Person Victoria is back. Independence resurrected. All tyrannical governments, all tyrannical. I think you mean tyrannical governments. The cartels, apparently. All tyrannical government has been from one man through a Trojan horse. I mean, I think it's more complicated than that. I think sometimes it's just a matter of, it doesn't have to be through a Trojan horse per se. It can be from a variety of factors. Sometimes people can decide that they would prefer a tyrannical government if they feel that that government will be better able to provide them with services and safety. However, as a general rule, what I would say is if you are willing to sacrifice your freedoms for security, you will usually end up with neither. So Some Ben Franklin quote. So that was the Ben Franklin quote. I was trying to remember who said it. I thought I remembered it from somewhere, but I could not remember off the top of my head who actually said it. So I did want to mention again and talk about Puerto Vallarta a little bit, because I have been, and I consider myself truly lucky to have been able to visit Puerto Vallarta on several different occasions. I wrote about my visits to Puerto Vallarta in Medium, and I've posted about my visits on YouTube. I am handsome 154. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, all right, watch your movie, and Smokey send me the link for the 28th. So this I wrote in 2024. I think I was there. Yeah, I was there. That was the last time I was there. Um, the majority of Square and Compass's My Travels, it's very big. Please hit like and subscribe. Take place in Canada and the United States of America, but I've been lucky enough to visit Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and sit with Freemasons therein on 3 wonderful and beautiful occasions. What made these occasions more beautiful was that they occurred during the winter months, and traveling from Canada to Mexico in winter ain't half bad. The travels to Puerto Vallarta were and are thanks to Most Worshipful Brother Cameron Bailey of the Grand Lodge of Washington. I'll check it out, Smokey, who, after appearing on the Square and Compass podcast several times, invited me to a Masonic trip to Puerto Vallarta with several Washington State brethren. I attended and fell in love with the city and Mexico, aside from one fun night of food poisoning. That's right, I'm not bald. The people were incredibly friendly, the views were beautiful, and the Masonic Lodge was a special place. That 2021 visit marked the first time we heard Masonic ritual, or I heard Masonic ritual, in a language other than English. Hearing the ritual in Spanish was special, as was helping to set up the lodge. Swimming in the ocean, eating amazing seafood, it was all special. So special, Square and Compass Promotions returned 1 year later, once again at the invitation of Most Worshipful Brother Cameron Bailey. In this case, attended a special Christmas party with the Most Worshipful Brothers family and engaged in an excellent clubhouse discussion on creating compelling lodge experiences, and I share a link to the clubhouse discussion. And then again in 2024, we attended Puerto Vallarta for the 162nd annual Most Worshipful York Grand Lodge's annual communication. We got drone footage and pictures from it on our social media channels. We also ate a pretty delicious espresso Snickers bar. Getting to see Freemasonry in a different light or different lights and in a different perspectives is vital to a successful Masonic career. It is also vital to a successful term in a Masonic leadership role, such as being Worshipful Master. We have been to, well, hello plus ultra. We have been to many amazing Grand Lodge annual communications in many North American jurisdictions. They all hold wonderful memories, but I don't think I was ever at an annual communication in a more beautiful place than Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. You should, it was delicious. And I would say that again, I don't think I've ever attended an annual communication in a more beautiful place than Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And I still think it is one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited. However, right now, even though it will always be a beautiful place, right now there are some not very beautiful things happening there. According to Global News, Canadiens stranded in Puerto Vallarta amid escalating violence in Mexico's Jalisco state say while they're feeling calm, locked down in their hotels, the surrounding area looks like a war zone. A shelter-in-place issue has been, or a shelter-in-place order has been issued in the city, with the state's governor saying federal forces carried out an operation in Talpala early Sunday morning, leading to clashes in the area. People are mostly calm and just staying tight and sort of maybe a bit quieter than usual, trying to figure out what's really going on, said Jeff Willis, a man from Manitoba currently staying in Puerto Vallarta, Manitoba. But behind our unit, you can see multiple areas of smoke. It looks like a war zone. Willis said he is staying in the city near the marina, about 10 minutes from the airport, which has been shut down. That's the same area I stayed at, actually. WestJet canceled his flight Jalisco State Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro said in a post on social media a few hours after the reported operation, he had given the order to activate a code red. He said vehicles have been burned and blocked in some places to hinder the actions of authorities. Global Affairs Canada issued a notice on its travel advisory page for Mexico on Sunday, today, warning of violence and roadblocks in the country's southwestern region. Criminal groups have set up roadblocks with burning vehicles in southwestern Mexico. There have been shootouts with security forces and explosions. The agency said the roadblocks are especially found in Jalisco State, including Puerto Vallarta, and Guerrero State, including Acapulco, and Michoacan State. The smell from the fires has been noticeable, but Global BC producer Joan Marshall said in an interview from her hotel near the city's marina that there were also weird sounds, including sirens quite a bit, because there's a nearby hospital. Steve Mossop said he's also stranded in Puerto Vallarta, and though he told Global News he feels safe in his hotel, he added it's an eerie situation. WestJet, Porter Airlines, and Air Canada and Air Transat have all confirmed to Global News that flights to and from Puerto Vallarta on Sunday have been canceled. WestJet says it has also canceled 24 added flights to the city, as well as Guadalajara and Manzanillo. The president of Mexico, President Sheinbaum, wrote the following. This is translated through Google Translate, but it looks pretty accurate to me. The Ministry of National Defense reported on the operation carried out this morning by federal forces, which resulted in various roadblocks and other incidents. There is full coordination with the governments of all states. We must remain informed and calm. The Security Cabinet's social media accounts provide continuous updates. Activities are proceeding normally throughout most of the country. My recognition to the Mexican Army, National Guard, Armed Forces, and Security Cabinet. We work every day for the peace, security, justice, and well-being of Mexico. I have tried to contact at least some of my contacts from Puerto Vallarta to see if they're doing okay, if the fellow Masonic Brethren and their families are doing okay. And once things calm down, I may see if there's any type of Masonic aid that we can provide. 154, you're being weird. It is crazy. So as of right now, if you are a Canadian in Puerto Vallarta, first of all, you're being advised to shelter in place. Join what XTC? Join Freemasonry? Or join Square and Compass Promotions channel. So travel.gcga just wrote, Canadiens in Mexico, violence and roadblocks are occurring in Jalisco State. A shelter-in-place order is in effect in Puerto Vallarta. If you're in Jalisco State, keep a low profile and follow advice of local authorities. More info at travel.gc.ca/destinations/Mexico. You can also register through the Government of Canada, registration of Canadians abroad. Registration of Canadians abroad is a free service that allows the Government of Canada to notify you in case of an emergency at your destination or a personal emergency at home. This service also enables you to receive important information before or during a natural disaster or civil unrest. We encourage you to register whether you are planning a vacation or living outside of Canada. I did not know about this, but this is really cool. You learn something new every day. I will be encouraging anybody who's engaged in Masonic travel, any Canadian who's traveling at all, but I would say certainly if you are traveling for a Masonic event, consider registering with the Government of Canada. That way, if, let's say, you register that you'll be visiting India and there's an emergency situation in India, they can contact you and advise you of what's happening. Or if, heaven forbid, there's an emergency at home, they can advise you of that as well. But that's really all the information I have presently. Again, if Um, if I learn of any Masonic efforts to, I guess, really be, deal with the cleanup of this situation to help people who may have been affected by the violence, or any Masonic lodges or Masons who have been directly affected by the violence, I will certainly be posting that on social media. In the meantime, as the government notes, if you are in Puerto Vallarta, even if you're not a Canadian, if you're there at all, Masonic or otherwise, certainly if you're my Masonic brother, my thoughts are especially with you, but to anybody there, shelter in place, listen to local authorities. If you're traveling from abroad, register with your consulate, register with the government so they know where you are and they know where to find you or how to get in touch with you if they need to share information quickly. I can say again, I've been to many Masonic annual communications all around the world. I don't think I've ever been to a annual communication in a place that was more beautiful than Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And so my heart breaks for everybody there. Well, I'm not sure why he said no, but yes, if you want to be one, ask one. XTC, I mean, what you need to do is you need to find a Masonic lodge that's within your area. And you express your interest in joining, basically. So what you do is you find a Masonic lodge in your area. You can send them an email. You can write them a letter. You can give them a call. You can knock on their door in person and see if anybody's in. And just express your interest in joining. And you go from there. So that really is how it goes. I can't speak to where you are, so I do not know, the closest Masonic lodge in your area, but that's the first step. It takes a bit of time. Don't expect it to be some type of rush or expect it to be super quick because that's not how it works. But you have to take the first step. So, yeah, I hope that you will take the first step and then just see how it goes. Don't rush it. So see where you're at. And if you want to let me know where you're at, I can maybe try to find the Masonic Lodge in your area. But you need to take the first steps by approaching the Masonic Lodge. Especially if I'm not in your jurisdiction, really is up to you to make that first step. So you can join if you have a criminal record. It depends, right? It depends on, amongst other things, the nature of the criminal offense, how long ago it was, if you paid your debt to society, what you've learned, and how you've changed. It's not an automatic no. It depends on the nature of the crime and your steps to make amends with the community and in some ways, to improve upon yourself. I always say, though, never make assumptions about, for example, I have a criminal record, so therefore I'm not even going to bother applying. You can still apply to be a Freemason and let the lodge decide. Just be honest. Just be honest with them about the criminal record itself and what happened. Well, it's unfortunate if somebody who's a Freemason is also a conspiracy theorist, but there you go. 9393, I'm not sure what that means, but please hit like and subscribe, Knuckles. To everybody watching this, please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. I very much appreciate it. I'm almost at 3,600 subs, so let's see if we can get there. I also want to mention that on February 22nd, Canadians observe National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. You can learn more by visiting ontario.ca/human trafficking. If you are concerned that anybody is being trafficked, if you think there's immediate danger, you can call 911 or your local police services. Otherwise, the Canadian Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-833-900-1010. Smith, I have no idea what that means. I don't know why someone would kick you out of Freemasonry for being too good. That sounds very strange to me. Freemasonry encourages you to be the best version of yourself. I'm doing well, Travis the Pirate. How are you? I also wanted to mention, okay, cool, that yesterday, March 21st, was International Mother Language Day. Freemasonry is practiced, hold on just one second, in a variety of different mother languages and mother tongues from all around the world. I do not know where Dewsbury is, Smith, but there you go. Maybe you were just so good they all found it challenging or they all found it threatening. Okay, well, I mean, the Shriners do a lot of good community work, and a lot of non-Masons and non-Shriners will go to Shriner events, obviously ones that are open to the public. Yeah, I speak two languages myself, English and bad English, but Big Father says buy frat coin, I say, or buy fart coin, I say hit like and subscribe. So we can both give a verb and an adjective at the same time, or a verb and a noun, I should say. Shriner is a member of the Shrine, which is an appendant Masonic body. So if you are a Freemason, you can then choose to join the Shrine, which is just another branch of Freemasonry. So as yesterday was International Mother Language Day, they're not a secret society. They're pretty public. Freemasonry so as yesterday was International Mother Language Day, I did want to discuss this or mention this. Freemasonry rightly prides itself on its universality and diversity. Throughout the world, Freemasonry is being practiced in the many languages, dialects, and accents of its membership. Practicing Freemasonry, to most Freemasons, will draw to mind ritual, which is indeed practiced in the many languages, dialects, and accents of its membership. However, practicing Freemasonry also means practicing those administrative tasks that allow a Masonic lodge to efficiently and effectively function. Chief amongst these administrative tasks is timely and regular communication between lodge administration, such as a lodge secretary and membership, particularly the publication and distribution of a summons or trestle board. When we, meaning Freemasons, discuss Freemasons' universality and diversity, it is usually within the context of the number of lodges and Masonic organizations that exist throughout the world. However, that universality and diversity is also found within an individual lodge or Masonic organization. Brothers of diverse backgrounds, of diverse beliefs, and of diverse mother languages all gather within the body of a lodge to practice Freemasonry. This caused me to think, since many Masonic lodges have membership with diverse native languages, to what extent do lodges or other Masonic organizations communicate with this diversity in mind? For example, how many Masonic lodges publish a summons or trestle board in multiple languages? I polled this question on our YouTube channel and on Twitter/X. On YouTube, 4 responded in the negative and 1 responded in the positive. So that means 4 people said, we do not publish a summons or trestle board in multiple languages, and 1 did. On Twitter, we had 2 responses, both in the negative. I'm proud to say that when I was Ritual Master in Harmony, actually had our summons published in both English and French, because we're a Canadian lodge and we should be publishing in both official languages, and also we had many members of the lodge who spoke in French first. Also, when I could and on occasion, I would actually include native or indigenous languages in the summons, particularly Ojibwa. Freemasonry, XTC is not Zionist. Freemasonry is not Zionism. Freemasonry, Zionism is a political ideology. That's not the same thing as Freemasonry. Freemasonry, there are maybe some Freemasons who are Zionist and some who are not. There is no chain of command within Freemasonry in a global sense. There are individual grand lodges, but it's decentralized. As we have reported on Scoring Comes Promotions, you may notice an increase in French language messaging both on our social media and in our email blasts, as well as an attempt to increase voices of diverse groups and more accessibility. For example, using alt text. Freemasonry is diverse, and Scoring Compass intends to examine and promote that diversity. Right, one of my lodges began including communications in both English and French official languages. In Canada, where we have 2 official languages, the potential benefits of communicating with official languages is obvious, but this question goes beyond official languages. To what extent does communicating in multiple languages create a more welcoming environment for membership? To what extent will communicating in multiple languages encourage attendance and participation from a diverse membership? We at Scoring Comes Promotions and I don't have all of the answers, but we think, and I think, these are worthwhile questions to ask. So in my opinion, is it worth increasing the communication that we have within Freemasonry in multiple languages? For example, let's say that, in Canada, we have a national day to celebrate our Indigenous or our First Nations peoples. I can't think of what day that is off the top of my head. I think there's actually two. Would it make sense on, whatever month it is that that day falls onto or coincides with, publish a message in both English and maybe the First Nations language most closely associated with your area, or English, French, and the First Nations language most closely associated with that area. If there's a French Heritage Day, publish a message in English and French. Or let's say you have a significant Filipino presence within the lodge. On one of their national holidays, like in June when they have their National Independence Day, does it make sense to publish a message in English and in the Philippine language in order to recognize those brethren? I mean, yes, it's a little bit of work. You may have to get a professional translator, but would it make brethren feel more welcome? And would it help to celebrate the diversity that exists within our Masonic lodges, particularly the diversity of mother languages within Masonic lodges? Well, Canada is my first nation as well. I was born here, so this is my nation before any other, and it's the greatest nation in the world. However, we have a lot of different languages that exist within this nation. It's one of the things I love about it. The fact that I can be wheeling down the street and hear people speaking in French and in Indian and in Middle Eastern dialects and in Spanish. I wish I heard more Indigenous or First Nations languages because I'm a love language. And I think the more languages that we have in active operation and active use, it's the better for a country and it's better for Freemasonry. And I also want to mention, I am talking about mother languages. You could apply this to just the idea of communication in general. How many of our Masonic buildings have Braille signage for those who are visually impaired? So we're communicating with them in Braille. How many Masonic lodges have Braille Braille ritual books or information in Braille? Let's say you are a Masonic lodge and you are hosting a table at a fair or at some type of community celebration and you're handing out information. Maybe you've thought ahead and you're handing out information in English and French or English and Spanish or whatever it might be. Do you also have information in Braille in case somebody comes along who is blind or visually impaired? And for that matter, what about ASL, sign language? If you're holding a public event and somebody is giving a speech, do you have a Braille interpreter there? Do you have a sign language interpreter there to make sure anybody in there who may be dealing with or struggling with either they're completely deaf or maybe they're just very hard of hearing and rely on sign language, are they able to understand what you're saying, right? You could take this idea of mother languages and just say communication. And are we communicating, or are we communicating as Freemasons in such a way that both respects, honors, and recognizes the diversity of language and communication that exists within the world, both mother languages and mother tongues, as well as blindness, so having Braille communication available, and deafness, having sign language when available. Right, and it doesn't have to be one of those things where I don't think it's necessary, for example, in every Masonic summons to have a message in English and then in French and then in Spanish and then in First Nations and then in, I don't know, Polish or whatever it is. But again, if let's say you're sending out a summons and in that particular month there's a day to celebrate Indigenous peoples, consider publishing something in an Indigenous language. Consider, if you live in a place that has multiple official languages, like Canada, English and French, consider trying to publish something in both English and French. I think it's worth consideration. Consider bringing in ASL for public events and consider Braille for signage, right? I remember for the longest time we had this elevator, but it did not have Braille signage. So it's like, well, what if you are visually impaired and need the elevator? How do you know where you're going? Never be at war with yourself, first person Victoria. Never be at war with yourself. You'll be fine. You are exactly what you are supposed to be. So 654, Freemasonry is not a secret society, nor is it satanic. Spellbinders, you can believe in any god you so choose. Freemasonry does not require a specific religious belief. Rather, you just must believe in a supreme being. That can be anything. We have Christian Freemasons, Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, Jewish, indigenous, spiritual, I guess, like myself. Well, it'll make your life better to the extent that you allow it to make your life better. I mean, that's kind of like asking, will having a gym membership make my life better? It's like, I don't know. Do you go to the gym? Just being a Freemason in and of itself is not going to inherently make your life better. You have to put in the work, right? The man makes the mason. The mason doesn't make the man. So what that means is if you're willing to put work and effort into it, then yes, it will make your life better. But if you're not willing to do that, then it will not. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, but again, the principles and camaraderie matter to the extent that you take advantage of them, or you study them or use them within your life. Right? This is one of those things where you need to always keep in mind and remember that Freemasonry is not like this passive thing where you can just join a Masonic lodge and all of a sudden you're you're a better person. You have to put work into it. But I do believe if you are willing to put work into it, it can help improve your life. But that's true for almost anything, right? If you join a gym but never show up, then what can it do, right? That's not the gym's fault. So Freemasonry does not preach sadism, nor does it preach antisocial values. Yeah, the Great West, that's not a please hit like and subscribe. That's not a terrible way to think about it. You could view it as a fraternity. I kind of have started to shy away from that word a little bit, although historically I would have actually used the term fraternity because, but there are women Freemasons as well. But you could think of it as fraternity. It's a civic club or a civic group is the best way to think about it, right? It occupies the same space in society as the Elks, the Moose, the Oddfellows, even the Rotary. Joining Freemasonry is always a leap of faith, first person Victoria. I'm not going to say what happens in Masonic rituals. Some stuff you get right, a lot of stuff you get wrong, first person. So people need to be very careful with listening to what first person Victoria says. But what I will say is I've never seen anything or seen any Masonic rituals that are dangerous, unsafe, illegal, or against one's civic, religious, moral, or familial responsibilities. I mean, some scientists have joined Freemasonry over the years, I'm sure. I mean, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but there's anything from plumbers to prime ministers to custodians to retirees to police officers to social media content makers. They all joined Freemasonry. There's actually some evidence that Isaac Newton was a Freemason, but I don't think that's been confirmed. He certainly knew a lot of Freemasons. Sir Alexander Fleming was a Freemason. He invented penicillin. And Edward Jenner invented the smallpox vaccine, was also a Freemason. So there you go. Well, yeah, there's some evidence that he was, I don't think he was myself, but he certainly knew a lot of Freemasons, right? Because he was born 1643, he died 1737, 27. He died after 1717. And there's all sorts of evidence that he knew and associated with several Freemasons. Some have argued he was a Freemason himself. I don't buy it personally. Yes, there was NDR. So Isaac Newton, so formal Freemasonry existed in England. The Premier Grand Lodge of England formed June 24th, 1717. Sir Isaac Newton passed away either 1727 or 1737. I can't think of which off the top of my head. But when Newton existed, there was formal Freemasonry. There was, in fact, the Premier Grand Lodge. And before that, there were Masonic lodges that existed. Obviously, the first Premier Grand Lodge of England did not create Masonic lodges. Rather, it took 4 already existing Masonic lodges and combined them under a single governing structure. Well, I mean, I think he was relatively active later on in life. But again, Freemasonry in England did not start in 1717. That is when the Premier Grand Lodge of England formed, which brought in pre-existing Masonic lodges. I mean, the first speculative Freemasons to exist, are recorded as existing or are recorded as being created in 1634 in Scotland. Certainly there were 3 brothers, the Mackenzie brothers, if I recall correctly. Certainly by 1700, there were probably, this is an estimate, a few thousand Masons in England. Maybe, I would say a few thousand, maybe in the high hundreds at the minimum. And then, the Premier Grand Lodge of England formed from there. Well, it's similar. He could have been both. Again, I'm not saying he was a Freemason. I personally don't think he was, but I definitely know that he associated with a lot of Freemasons. And some have used that to claim he was himself a Freemason. I am not part of a lodge in UGLE, but I'd like to be one day. I'm doing well. I mean, if you're not finding me, Dix, and you want to, I'm just going to call you Dix, you want to find me, what you can do is make sure you turn on your notification bell. So if you're subscribed to this channel, and I hope you are, just make sure you have all notifications turned on. That way, whenever I'm doing a new stream, you'll find me. Because you'll get a notification on your phone. And even if you can't check it out at that point in time, you can always check it out later. I mean, I've never danced at a Masonic meeting, and that's a good thing because no one wants to see me dance. I have no rhythm. I'm not sure what the dork shit you refer to is. I mean, I suppose what you may find dorky, others may find very relevant or very meaningful in their lives. Always, never judge anybody in terms of let people have their dorky shit. There's a lot worse things they could be doing. I mean, I guess I'd say, what is your understanding of what a Masonic ritual should be? I would say there is an element of reunionism to Masonic ritual. It's kind of in our nature to enjoy each other's company. It's called brotherly love for a reason, right? A lot of people ask me, what is the fundamental belief in Freemasonry? I always struggled with the answer to that. Now I'd say, in my opinion, the fundamental belief in Freemasonry is that spending time with one another is a worthwhile endeavor. And that will bring along a level of enjoyment with it. Sometimes we wear tuxedos, first person Victoria. Sometimes we wear suits and ties. I've been to some Masonic lodges where they basically walk into the lodge wearing their overalls that they wore while they were working on the fields, if they're farmers. I mean, I love the movie From Hell, but that doesn't paint Freemasonry in the best light. But I still love that movie. So, Man Who Would Be King. The Simpsons Stonecutters episode is really fun. It is not 33 degrees, but, I see what you did there. Samuel Westall, when you came in, what were we talking about? I'm not sure what you've seen me discuss so far. I was talking about Puerto Vallarta, because I've been there several times and I love it. Then I was talking about National Day against or for human trafficking awareness in Canada. And then I was talking about international mother languages and how we in Freemasonry should recognize the diversity of languages within which Freemasons practice both Masonic ritual and Masonic administration, and the diversity of ways in which they communicate with one another. And we should be cognizant of that and aware of that when we are communicating, with one another and to the public for that matter. It seems to me really, really important that if we, let's say, live in an area which has a significant, let's say, Spanish population, is it worth creating pamphlets and information about Freemasonry that is in Spanish, right? Oof, where are you, Ryan? I don't know what that means. I've never left a Masonic lodge tired. That's strange. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, actually, I'll take that back. There are times, for example, if I'm going to a Masonic lodge because I need to clean the building or something, I'm tired when I leave. Or if I had a long day at work, and I then have an extra couple hours that I have to deal with in a Masonic meeting, I might leave tired. But a Masonic meeting in and of itself has never made me tired. Well, Faithful Mustang, your uncle was full of baloney. I'm very sorry to say. Freemasonry starts, I was going to say at the first degree, but that's not even true. Freemasonry starts the moment you walk up to a Masonic lodge, knock on the door, and express your interest in joining. That's about it. That's when it starts. And it never ends at any degree. There's always more to learn. There's always more to do. Thank you, Plus Ultra. I'll be back on at 10 a.m. tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Happens to the best of us, Bradley. Happens to the best of us. No, they do not, Ryan. That's not how it works. You've been looking at way too much conspiracy theory nonsense. Well, maybe your questions aren't that great, Rob Como. Why would you say that, Ryan? England's great. England's a great country. I was just there in November and I loved it. I thought it was incredible. They do not have any physical or mental endurance tests, at least none I've ever heard of or taken part in. Honestly, though, I'm not opposed in any way, shape, or form. I'm not opposed to requiring a medical check before someone can join a Masonic lodge, just because there's valuable information that could help us better serve the applicant. So, for example, let's say you struggle to sit for long periods of time, and we learn that from a medical kind of note. Well, the worshipful master can go to that brother, that applicant, and say, look, it's going to be a really long meeting tonight. There's a lot of business to deal with or administration to deal with. So feel free to sit close to a door or whatever it is. And if you need to stand up and stretch or walk out for a moment, no one will say anything. Just, go on your way. It's one of those things where it's valuable. The more information we have, the better. An endurance test, I don't think you would need an endurance test. I don't know why that would be relevant. Freemasonry is certainly not physically strenuous. Well, if you had to do 800 push-ups, boy, would I lose miserably. Hey, I love Philadelphia as well. Oh, in New York? So yeah, you're getting a bunch of snow in New York. All right. I love Philadelphia. You guys have one of the coolest Masonic lodges, coolest Masonic buildings in the world. It is absolutely a Masonic jewel, so. We are just, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be ending this stream soon. This was kind of a special, unusual time stream. I usually don't do streaming, 6 p.m. Sundays. But there were some things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to come back on in about an hour, approximately an hour at 8 p.m. Eastern for the second half of this stream. But I did want to come on and mention three things. First, my thoughts, my heart, my mind is absolutely thinking about the people of Puerto Vallarta, as well as any Canadians who are vacationing there, as well as my Masonic brethren. I visited Puerto Vallarta 3 times. I loved it every single time. As I said, I don't think I've ever been in a more beautiful country for a annual communication than Puerto Vallarta in Mexico specifically. It was a beautiful city and a beautiful country. Please make sure that you are sheltering in place, listening to local authorities. If you are Canadian and you're traveling there, you can register with the Canadian government so they know that you are traveling abroad and can keep you updated with what's going on, certainly with, for example, when flights are resuming. It's a free service that the government provides that I did not know about, and I feel bad because all the times I've traveled to not know about it. I always encourage people to travel safely and responsibly. Registering with the Canadian government when you travel is a very valuable way to do that. So please keep that in mind. And again, if you learn of any Masonic lodges, Masonic brethren that are being impacted by this, by the violence happening in Puerto Vallarta and Jalisco, please let me know. Also, it is Canadian Human Trafficking Awareness Day. Takes place every year, February 22nd in Canada. We as Freemasons should care about, amongst other things, right? We should care about vulnerable individuals within our society, vulnerable individuals within the world, and what we can do to help them. If you suspect anybody is being human trafficked or is being controlled in some way, and if you think there's immediate danger, you can call 911 or your local police services. Or if you don't think there's immediate danger, but you want more information or you want to know what to do, there is a Canadian Human Trafficking Hotline, 833-900-1010. One more time in Canada, that's 833-900-1010. And then I also wanted to mention, yesterday was International Mother Language Day, celebrating the different mother languages and the diversity of mother languages around the world. Freemasonry is practiced by individuals all around the world, all of whom will have different mother languages, unique mother languages, as well as unique communication styles and needs. It's worth, within Freemasonry, us thinking about how we can increase the diversity through which and with which we communicating in multiple languages, so we better reflect both the makeup and diversity of our lodges and the communities in which we live. Consider making our buildings more accessible by, for example, including Braille signage for those who are deaf, which is a type of communication, a type of language. And also, if we're holding public events, consider having ASL or sign language interpretation for the same reasons. It's a type of communication, it's a type of language, right? But we as Freemasons, I'm always saying when it comes to Freemasonry, the reason I started Square and Compass Promotions was to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. And also we need to make sure that we are encouraging that relevance within our communities. We can't be relevant to our communities if we're not able to communicate with them. And to be able to communicate with them, we need to understand the languages within which they communicate and reciprocate. And even if they speak multiple languages, it always struck me as being incredibly kind to every now and then consider communicating in their native language. If you've got, let's say, a native French speaker or native French speakers in your lodge, every now and then having a message or a communication in French might make them feel more welcome. At least who knows? I hope that made sense. Ryan, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but that's weird. Which lodge are you in, Rob? Which lodge are you in? If you're a Mason, you want to come to a meeting, you're more than welcome. You just need to make sure you bring your dues card with you. Well, the all-seeing eye is not a unique thing to Freemasonry. First person Victoria. The all-seeing eye has been a very common symbol throughout the world. The Eye of Providence, the Eye of Ra. I mean, it's a pretty, I would say, and relatively common symbol throughout history. Certainly Freemasonry has adopted it, but we're not the exclusive group to adopt it. Well then, Rob, the best thing to do is get in touch with me through my website, squareandcompass.ca. One more time, squareandcompass.ca, and you can find me that way. Also, send a message, explain, you want to learn more about Freemasonry and potentially meet and discuss it, and we'll see if we can set up a time. I'm also having a public event on March 28th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and I hope you'll consider joining me there as well. It's at the Windsor Masonic Temple, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Well, probably PTWOB. That's very likely. But who knows? He can send me an email and we'll see. Right? He can send me an email and we'll see. And again, the event on the 28th of March is open to the public, so anybody's welcome to attend. It's free admission. A suggested, request is you bring $2 to support the Windsor Masonic Temple Coffee Club. It's just $2 for a bottomless cup of coffee. Bring that with you. But March 28th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., it is a community. Let's not be sending anybody any money. I mean, if you want to do a super chat, you're more than welcome, but that's for this channel. One of the best ways you know if something is a Masonic scam is if they ask you for money in exchange for membership. That's not how it works. Now, I'm trying to make a living on YouTube, so if you guys want to do me a super chat, just 99 cents. And if you don't want to do that, just hit the like button, just hit the subscribe button. Both are completely free. Both help out big time. Right? I have a passion for Freemasonry. I'm trying to turn that into a profession by creating content online. And it's going pretty well, to be honest. And that's thanks to all of the awesome supporters that I have. But once again, March 28th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., we have got a community services affair, which means we're going to have police, fire, kidney ballroom for a fair where they're going to get a chance to both network with one another, but also, and maybe even more importantly, communicate with the public about the services that they provide. So there you go. PTWOB, please hit the like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Share this stream, all that good jazz. I know I said I was going to end this stream. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. So I'll be coming back on closer to 8:15. There is no Masonic God. Freemasonry is not a religion. I'm just a washed up 66-year-old dinosaur. I actually find dinosaurs fascinating. I've never, like as a kid, I never really found them that interesting. But lately, over the last few years, I have kind of found them kind of interesting. Or at least every now and then I'll see a documentary about dinosaurs and I'll watch it. So, well, you keep showing up in fairness, so I suppose you might be as brainwashed as me. Well, I don't know why you want that, Victoria, but let's not get anybody censored. How about that? Let's just have you hang out. When I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about George Washington, because again, today is his birthday. And I'm also going to talk about International Freemason Day. But for now, let's end this stream, and I'll see you guys again in approximately 1 hour. All right, talk to you guys later.